Right, so children, will start from the very first question. Let me share my screen first of all. Okay, so children, the first question, they have given us a graph, right? And I'll just draw a quick sketch of it, right? Not too accurate, but just enough for our purpose. So I think there's no y-axis. Right, so this is the type of graph they've drawn. This is K, this is L, and this point is M, right? So this is a rough sketch, children. And the equation of the graph they've given is y equals to px squared plus qx plus r. First question says, if p is 1, q is 2, and r is equal to -3, find the y coordinate of the point where x is equal to 4. So children, can I ask you, who got the answer to this one? Can I have your answers? What did you get? Plus 2x minus 3. So when x is equal to 4, what is the value of y? Children, what are the answers you got?
You can
Type it in.
unmute and
Yes.
no, actually it's
Yeah,
better if they can unmute and
I'll
use.
let
It will be
them.
more
Yeah.
faster than typing.
Okay. So children, you all can unmute yourselves and let us know. Uh, and while someone is doing that, I encourage the others also to type and send us at least. Right? Okay. So Vishal says that he got. Okay, he's saying that he got 21, right? Okay. What
I
about
got
the
20.
others? Yes, Sandalika?
I got the answer as 21.
Okay, Sandali got 21. Senuli also got 21. All right. So children, so we have a few answers. Let's have a look and see. So children, we substitute x equals to 4. We get 4 squared plus 2 times 4 minus 3. This is 16 plus 8 minus 3. So children, when you do this, you do end up with 21
21.
as your answer. All right. So children, you all got it right. Good. Okay, so that is the answer to part A1. Then children, part A2, the coordinates of K and L, right? So these two x-intercepts. So children, what did you get for this one? The two x-intercepts. What are the coordinates that you got? Right, so Sandali has given me some answers that she got. Okay. What about the others? Children, what are your answers? Okay. Everyone is quiet. Children, don't be afraid to give your answer. It's okay if it's not correct. Tell me what you got. Because otherwise I will waste 15 minutes of our time asking you to answer. Right? We have to quickly move on. Right? We have today's lesson also. We have a really interesting lesson today. We have matrices. Right? So we have to learn about matrices. Right? So we have to go to that also. So if you give me your answers quickly, it will be helpful. No answers, children. Okay, that's okay. We'll see. We'll see what we get. So, children,
I
to
think
find.
Sanu teacher,
Yeah,
they have not done the homework. No,
that's
majority
why.
has not done. Yes.
That's why. Yes, but we do have. Okay, so I got another message saying one of our kids who did do the homework didn't write that one. So let's have a look. So, children, to find out the x-intercepts, you always set y to 0, right? So when you set y to 0, you get x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals to 0. So children, you can factorize this one, right? So you get uh, plus 3x minus x minus 3 equals to 0. Right? So this becomes x minus 1, because this is minus 1x, x plus 3 equals to 0. So children, when you take each of these equal to 0, you get x equals to 1, and x plus 3 equals to 0, you get x equals to minus 3. Right now, children, this is not the final answer though. They are asking for the coordinates of k and L, right? So the coordinates of k will be negative 3 comma 0, and the coordinates of L would be 1 comma 0, right? They're not asking for the x coordinates or the x values. They're asking for the coordinates. So you have to be very careful about what you're answering. If they ask for coordinates, make sure you give the coordinates, children. Okay, right. Final part of this question is find the coordinates of M. So can I have an answer for that one, children? What did you get for M? Any answers? Children? Okay, right. So I got one answer. Right, let's have a look and see. So children, to get the value of M, right, remember, always in a quadratic graph, right, the turning point is going to be exactly halfway between the two x-intercepts, right? So the x-intercepts here are negative 3 and 1, right? So you, to find the x-coordinate of the turning point, you take the average of negative 3 plus 1, right, which gives us negative 1. That means the x-coordinate of M is negative 1, right? So then you can substitute negative 1 into the equation and you can find the y coordinate. So children, I'm not going to do that now because I think you all know how to substitute x equals negative 1 and get the answer, right? So when you do that, you will end up with minus 4 as your answer, right? So the answer is negative 1 comma negative 4. The thing that you have to remember is that the x coordinate of the turning point is going to be exactly in between the two x intercepts, right? So once you get that x coordinate, you substitute it into x for the equation, right? So when you do that, you will end up with negative 4 as the y coordinate. So children, remember the coordinates of M are negative 1 comma negative 4. All right. Okay, so children, if you have any questions, please ask, right? So I will continue this. Unless you have any questions, I won't specifically go into any detail, right? Just to save time. Okay, then the next question.
Excuse me, Sandhun teacher, did you
Yes.
share the worksheet, homework
I
sheet?
did. I
in the
did.
chat?
I sent it to
Oh.
them just a while ago. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So then, children, part B says describe how the above sketch would change in each of the following cases. So the first case is if P is negative. So what is P, children? P is the coefficient of x squared. Can someone tell me what would happen if this coefficient of x squared becomes negative? Currently, it's positive. Can I have now for to answer this? You don't have to have done the homework. You can anyone can answer this. So I have an answer from Sandalidu and I also have one from Vikumputa. Okay, right? Anyone else? Can anyone unmute their mic and tell me what would happen to the graph if P becomes negative, children? Delaney, I think we are going to have to point them out and ask. Otherwise, this is
Yeah,
not going
that's
to
the
work.
best.
That's
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Yeah. Now we'll give
Sure,
them.
and especially a review class, Sandhun teacher. It's not a lesson that we are doing, right?
That's
This is a review class. Children, please interact, talk to us. If you have doubts, talk to us and ask. Then it will be more, even the teachers will have some sort of energetic, like be energetic when you all are talking, speaking up. So give the answer. Don't wait without talking.
Yeah.
Can anyone give the answer? Otherwise, we are just doing the lesson. We don't know whether you all understood or not. That's why the main reason we start doing like this, making you all to interact. No one answered? Sadhun teacher?
No, I got some answers through the chat. But see, now children, I got some of your answers, right? And it's a good thing that y'all are sending us these answers because now I know that some of you have the wrong idea about some of these points, right? I don't know otherwise, right?
Yeah,
Now,
that's why.
yeah, the correct answer, children, is if P becomes negative, this graph would, now this graph has a minimum turning point, it will have a maximum turning point. The graph will turn the other way around, right? That's what will happen. So basically, children, if I was to draw this and show you, right, now the graph looks like this. This graph will turn the other way to look like this. Okay, so that's what will happen, children. Okay, so keep that in mind, right? Okay, right. So children, now let's go on to so is that clear now? Some of the children, you gave me different answers. Is this clear now, children? What would happen if p is a negative number, right? So I hope you correct it. Okay, good. Now next they're saying, yes, so Sanal is saying it flips or changes shape. That is correct. It flips, right? It flips the other way around. That is a good way to put it. Okay, so what happens when P is equal to 1 and Q and R are equal to 0? When P is equal to 1 and Q and R are equal to 0. So children, when P is equal to 1 and Q and R are equals to 0, this becomes a very familiar graph, doesn't it? What happens?
Right.
Children, we get y equals x squared, right? What happens? The minimum point, right, or we call it the vertex, right, or the minimum point, the turning point will go to the origin, right, and the graph will look like this, right? The vertex will go to the origin, right? It becomes the graph of y equals x squared. Okay, then children, part C says another quadratic function is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Its graph passes through the origin. Write down the value of c. So I'll take a new page for this one because this is it's kind of an entirely different question. So we have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and apparently it goes through the origin. So that means, children, it goes through 0, 0. So can you tell me what will be the value of c? Okay. So Vikumputa has given me the right answer. Can others tell me as well? So Sandali has also given me the right answer. Very good. Children, what happens if the graph passes through the origin? What happens, children? The value of c will be equal to 0. Yes, Senalidu, it will be 0. What happens? Because we can substitute 0, 0 into this equation, right? So a times 0 squared plus b times 0 plus c. So if you solve this equation, children, you end up with c equals to 0, right? So there we go. That's what happens. Okay. Then part 2. This is interesting. So the graph also passes through two other points. The 2 points are 3, 0 and 4, 8. Find the values of a and b, right? So now how would you do this? Is there anyone who found the values? Anyone who can give me what the answers that you got are for a and b? Anyone, children? No one got the answers. Children, tell me the answers that you got. It's okay if it's not correct, right? We can discuss it and see what are the answers that you got. Children. Either these children are the quietest children on earth, I think.
But I don't think if they're in the school, this type of quietness is there.
That's what I was thinking. Are they always should bring the parents and ask whether they are.
So I think better not the parents, the teachers.
Must be very easy to stay at home during quarantine with these kids. They don't make any noise. Isn't it, children? Huh? What are the answers you got? Okay, never mind. Anyway, we'll go into the question, right? So to get the answers, we have to substitute 3, 0 and 4, 8 into this equation, children. Now we already found the value of c to be 0, right? So you substitute 3, 0 first, right? So when you do that, the y value is 0 and 3 for x. So b times 3. I don't take c, children, because I already found c to be 0, right? So when I simplify this equation, I get 9a squared plus, oh sorry, not 9a squared, 9a 9a plus 3b. Then children, I can divide the whole equation by 3 to simplify it a little bit more, right? So 0 divided by 3 is 0 and 9 divided by 3 is 3 plus b. So this is my first equation. Okay, right. Then children will take the second point, 4 comma 8, right? So 8 is the y value and a times 4 squared plus b times 4. So children, that gives us 8 equals to 16a plus 4b. Again, to simplify it, I'll divide everything by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. This is my second equation, right? So now I have two simultaneous equations that I can work with. All right. Then children, what I'll do is I'll do second equation minus the first equation, right? So 2 minus 1, right? So what happens? 2 minus 0 on the left hand side gives me 2. 4a minus 3a is a, and b minus b is 0. So therefore children, the answer for a is 2. Okay, let me write that a bit better. There we go. A is 2, and I can substitute this into one of these two equations. I'll choose the first one because it looks easier, right? So when I substitute in one, I get 3 times 2 plus b. So therefore b is equal to negative 6. All right, so we solved that. Turns out the values of a and b are a is equal to 2 and b is equal to negative 6, right? So the equation of this graph is y equals to 2x squared minus 6x. Now children, at least can you tell me whether you got it correct or wrong? Right? Who got it correct? Can I see a show of hands? Children who got it correct. Okay.
Bullshit. Only 1, 2.
No, Senulidya also got it correct. Ah,
4.
yes, Senulidya also. Yeah, four people with her. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Good, children. Very good. So that's what. Tell the answer, will you? You all have got it correct also. Right?
No,
Okay.
even if the answer is wrong, you have to tell. Then only
Yeah,
you
that's
will
fine.
learn something. Yeah.
That's the thing. Right.
Another Tila.
Right. So there's one who's telling me that she got it wrong, but the explanation was clear, so she got it. Very good, Dua. Okay. Right. So children, we'll go on to the second question. Unless you have any questions, if you have any questions, children, please send it to us, and we will explain. Right. Okay. So going on to the second question, they've already given us a diagram. I'll try to draw a rough sketch of it first. Right. So children, this is the graph that you have been given, right? So Delaney teacher, do they learn about hyperbolas in O level?
Yes, they have.
They do, no? Yes.
They
So
do.
children,
Yes.
yeah, this is a hyperbola. It's called a rectangle, a
Uh,
hyperbola.
Yeah, they learn it as reciprocal graphs.
Reciprocal graphs. Yes, there we go. Right. So they're the same thing, children, right? So this is a reciprocal graph. Then the question is part A. The diagram shows the graph of y equals 3 over x, right? So the equation is y equals to 3 over x, right? For x is greater than 0. So you can clearly see they've only drawn for x values greater than 0. So complete the sketch for x values less than 0, right? So children, what would the graph look like for x is less than 0? Can someone tell me what the graph would look like? What would it look like, children, for the other half? Okay, at least I'll give you all a choice, right? This is the first choice. This is the second choice. Is it 1 or 2? Tell me at least whether it's 1 or 2. Hmm? What is
Children,
the
if you all
answer?
are not sure about it, please ask us. Then we know what you all don't know and to explain it.
That's what.
Because I feel like that you all don't know. Because there are so many other ways that we can explain if you all are not like getting it, like if you cannot understand.
Yes. That's what. So I got two answers. I'm getting both answers. So some children are telling me that it's 1. Some children are telling me that it's 2.
Children, that means you all are guessing it, or you know that it's 1 or 2, like you all are thinking and giving. Is the same student giving 1 and 2 or different children?
I think
Sanjay
different
teacher.
children.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So most of them are saying it's 2. Right. We'll see.
Okay.
So children, the correct answer is 2. Okay.
Sadhu teacher,
Yeah.
can explain them why 2 is coming, because
Yes.
it gives a
Yeah.
positive answer. Yeah,
I'll
get
do that.
that.
So children, the reason it is the second one and not the first one is this. I'll show you with a point, right? So we have this equation. What is the equation? Y equals to 3 over x, right? Now children, you can clearly see when the x values are positive, the y values are positive. Can you see that, children? Right? So if, for example, if you put x equals 1, you get y equals 3 because 3 divided by 1 is 3, right? So both x and y are positive. So that is correct, right? Because in this quadrant, right, in this quadrant here, both the x values and the y values are positive. Okay. But children, let's take a negative value of x. Let's take x equals to -1. When you do that, you get -1. So children, what is 3 divided by -1? The answer is going to be -3. So that means children, when the x values are negative, the y values will also be negative, right? In this quadrant, which we call the second quadrant, right? When the x values are negative, y values are positive, children. So therefore it can't be in this quadrant. But in this quadrant, right, the third quadrant, when x values are negative, y values are also negative. So therefore both x and y are negative, children. So therefore 2 is the correct answer. Am I right, Dilani teacher?
Yes. And also there you have to tell about the 0 thing here.
Yes.
That means we cannot deny. Yeah.
Yes. So children, now you can see, now I'll erase the wrong part, right? So the right answer is this.
Shall we
Okay.
ask the children whether they know that if any
Yes.
number divided by 0, what is the answer?
Yeah. So children, now
Anyone
you,
who knows the answer?
yes, children, you all can see there is some odd behavior towards x equals 0 in this graph. Who can explain that behavior?
Yes, let me. Yes, let me, tell me. Let me raise the hand. Let me, you can unmute and tell, darling. Let me. Anyone who knows? If you divide a number with 0, what will be the value? What is your answer?
So we are getting some interesting answers, Dilani teacher. So without naming them, I'll tell
0.
you. So I'm going.
No, I'm also seeing some numbers.
Yeah.
0.
So some children are saying when you divide by 0, the answer is 0. Then some children are saying
Oh.
3 divided by 0, it becomes -3. Right. So Wando gave me the right answer. Right. Okay. So what is the correct answer? What happens when you divide by 0? So another child is saying it's not possible. Right.
Yes, it's not possible. It goes to the infinity, because in the calculators also you get sometimes math error or something. I have seen math error.
Math
Children
error.
are coming and telling me, yes, they are coming and telling, Miss, it's an error. It's not an error because the calculator cannot give you it's infinity,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
it goes.
So
That's why
actually,
here their graphs, they are not touching the x.
yes. So children, if you now let me do a gave me the best answer. She's saying it's an undefined value. It goes. So she says undefined
Yes,
value infinity. It actually goes to infinity to us. So this is what happens,
infinity.
children. Right. So when
It
on your
won't
free
touch.
time, yes, when you are free after the lesson, take your calculators and try this, right? When I explain hyperbolas to students, I always do it this way. So children, you take a calculator and you take 1 and you divide it by some numbers and try, right? So you divide by 100, you divide by 1000, and then divide by smaller and smaller numbers. So divide 1 by 0.1, divide 1 by 100, by 0.001, then divide 1 by 0 followed by around 5 or 6 zeros and then 1. See, you will be able to see, children, as the denominator of the fraction becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, the value of the fraction starts to become very, very, very big. You will go into the 100,000s, into the millions, into the 10 millions, right? What's happening, children, is when you start to divide by smaller and smaller numbers, the value of the fraction becomes larger and larger. So we say that mathematically, if the denominator goes towards 0, right, the value of the fraction goes towards infinity. So you can't actually divide by 0. That's why the calculator says math error, because the calculator can't calculate a number that is so big. It's infinite, right? So the calculator can't compute something that is infinite, right? That's the reason. Okay, so it is not something that is defined. All we can say is as the denominator goes to 0, the value of the fraction goes to infinity. All right, so children, remember that. It's a very interesting concept. Okay, all right. So children, will move on to part B. So part B says, sketch the graph of y equals x on the same diagram. So I think all of you know how to sketch the graph of y equals x. So if you sketch the graph of y equals x, it will look something like this, right? That will be the graph of y equals x sketched on the same diagram. Okay, then part C, the graphs of y equals 3 over x and y equals x meet at x equals k. Find the values of k. What does that mean, children? That means these x values, right, where they meet, right? So you can see this is one meeting point and this is another meeting point. So they are saying these values are k. So they are basically asking us to find these points of intersection. Children, how can we find the points of intersection? Who can tell me? Who can tell me how to find the points of intersection?
I think Sandun teacher explained in the simultaneous equations. No.
Yes, that's what. I already explained it
Yes.
just a few minutes ago. Children, what do we do?
Right.
Solve a simultaneous equation. So basically, children, you equate these two to one another.
Equation.
Right? Yes. So we have y equals to 3 over x and we have y equals to x. So you equate these two together. So I'll take the x. This becomes x squared. Now children, we have to take the square root. Remember, when you take the square root, I remember Delaney teacher telling this very explicitly one other day. When you take the square root, you have to take the plus or minus square root, right? So that means, children, the value of k will be plus or minus square root of 3, right? So that means this intersection point will be plus root 3 and this will be negative root 3. So those are the answers, children, right? Is that clear? Who got the right answer? Can I know? Who got the right answer? Sasha got the right answer. Very good. And Vishal also got the right. Senuli also got it. Good. So having got the right answer, you all are not telling me what you got.
Children, can you just tell us why you all are not talking? We didn't ask this question from the local class because before we start talking, they start talking to us.
Some of them turned their cameras on. They raised when I asked them to raise. Okay. So one Putha is telling me that he's shy. Why are you shy, Putha?
Oh my God, being international, what it is, international school. I don't think that in the class you are like this.
Yes. Dilana teacher, can you remember in the local O-level class, there are children who switch on the camera and raise their hand when I ask them to raise their hands
Yes.
virtually.
Yes. Virtually they're
Yes.
jumping up and raising,
Yeah, they're raising their hand.
standing and raising
Right?
like the class. So
Yeah.
interesting. So I want this class also to be like that.
Yes, children.
I know children. I was teaching, right, for 23 years in international schools. I know that y'all are not like this. Y'all are not like this in the school. So definitely I want you to be like that.
Right.
So children, can you all answer? Give us the reason for not talking. Is it boring for you all, these two teachers?
Probably that's what. No, Dilana teacher.
Yeah. Oh, no.
All right. Anyway, we'll move on
Okay.
to the third, the last question. Right. So, children, the last question is where you have to draw a graph. Right. So we've given you a table, and you have to fill in the missing values on the table. That's the first thing to do. Right. So I think there were three missing values. So, children, I'll just give you the values. You would have calculated it yourselves. So when x is -1, the y value is 1.5. When x is negative 0.5, the y value is 3.75. And when what the other one was, x is equal to 1, the y value was negative 1.5. Right, children? Yes. So I have got the answers from one of my kids have told me the answers already. Yes, very good, Buddha. Yes, these are the answers. Okay. So children, next the thing you have to do was on a sheet of graph paper, draw the graph of y equals x over 2 minus 2 over x. Right? Okay. So for this one, I have actually prepared this graph for you already. So children, you should be able to see it now. So this is what your points should look like if you had plotted it correctly. Okay, and then what you do is you draw a smooth curve between the two sections, and this will be your graph. So remember children, they have broken this graph into two sections. They're asking you to draw from -4 to -0.5, and then again from 0.5 to 4. Okay, so you have to draw two separate sections for this graph. So this is what your graph should look like. Okay, right. Then so children, can I see how many of you got this graph? Whose graph turned out like this? Right. So Vishal and Senuli are saying their graphs look like this. Very good. Good. Okay. So children, next part, it says use your graph to solve the equation x over 2 minus 2 over x equals to 1. That means basically children, they're asking for what x values does this graph have the y value equals to 1. So I think that's pretty clear. You can see the 2 points. When y is equal to 1, you have something like this and this point here. All right. So the proper values are somewhere around -1.2 and positive 3.2. Right. So as long as your values are around -1.2 and positive 3.2, your answers would be correct. Right. There is obviously a small leeway. Right. So don't worry, it doesn't have to be on the dot perfect. Right. So you have a few.
Yeah, they will give a range.
They'll give a range. Right. Okay. So children, that's what the answer to part B is. Right. Next, going on to part C. By drawing a tangent, work out the gradient of the graph where x equals to 2. Right. So children, I have
Can anyone tell us? Can anyone tell us how to find the gradient of a curved? These are curved, right? So then how do we find the gradient? Anyone just?
Right, so
Yes, Senule?
rise or run. Tinsara is saying differentiation. Okay. Do you know how to
Okay.
differentiate this equation? 2 over x over 2 minus 2 over x. So differentiation is
And the
correct, right?
differentiation is correct, but
It's
then after
correct.
that, there is a thing that you have to tell.
Yes.
Complete it. Differentiation. If you all know differentiation, you can use differentiation, and then what do we do?
Divide.
No, it
dy
is
by
not.
dx is 0 is when the turning point,
Yes.
because the
So children,
gradient is 0 at that
yes,
time.
we'll talk about this when we get to differentiation, children, right? Because this is a whole other topic, right?
Yeah.
But
No,
for
but it's
now,
good if they know
yes,
that. If
yes,
they know it, it's
yes.
good.
I'm very happy because differentiation is my favorite topic of maths,
Same
right?
here.
So it's a very interesting topic, but it's a whole other topic, right? So children, and this question specially says by drawing a tangent, right?
Yes.
Now, Senulidua has said rise over run. Yes, Dua, you're correct. You have to draw the tangent first. Now, I know that in the Australian curriculum, they don't make the kids draw tangents and then find the rise over run part. So Senulidua probably doesn't do
So
that in school.
Netme has told the correct thing, no?
Yes.
Tangent to point where the curve meets at
Means at
x2
x
equals
equals
to.
yes.
Yes, Netme,
So
you're
you draw,
correct.
yes. So children, I
After
have
that,
drawn
you
the
have
tangent to you,
yes.
right? So you draw the tangent like this, and then you take 2 points, and then what Senulidua says becomes true. You take 2 points along the tangent, and then you take rise over run, right? Which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so you can pick any two points along the tangent, children. So when you calculate it, I worked this out before class. So the gradient actually comes, the perfect gradient is 1. Okay, so if you have something maybe around 1.2 to say 0.8 to 1.2, those answers would be considered as correct. All right, so those are the accepted answers, right? Then children, in part 2, they're saying write down the gradient of the graph where x is equal to -2, right? So if you look at x equals -2, children, if you draw a tangent and see, you will see that these two tangents are parallel.
Parallel.
So that means they have the same gradient, right? So tangent lines have the same gradient. Okay, so that means x equals -2 also, the gradient is equal to 1. Right, so whatever the same gradient you found for x equals 2. Then children, for part D, it says on the grid, draw the line y equals to -x, right, for -4 to 4. Right, so children, you can draw y equals -x. What you can do is you can take 3 points, right? So you can basically just substitute x equals -4, x equals 0, x equals 4, and you can find the y coordinates and you can mark those 3 points, right? And when you draw this curve, so I got rid of the tangents for this one so that it's clear. So this blue line is the graph of y equals -x, children. Okay, then it says use your graphs to solve the equation x over 2 minus 2 over x equals to -x, right? So children, basically what are they asking? If they equate the two equations together, they are asking for the points of intersection, right? They're asking for the points of intersection. So children, the x coordinate for the first point of intersection, right, is roughly -1.2, right? So you can give an answer somewhere between so around -1 to around -1.4. I think those answers will be accepted, right? And the second intersection point is at x equals 1, right? Is it? Doesn't look like x equals 1. X equals 1 is not correct, I think. Children, it's x equals, it's 1.2, Delaney, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. So somewhere around 1.2, children. Right? So that's where it'll be. Okay? Right. So Netmi is asking, sir, you draw a tangent to the point. Yes, that is for the previous question. Yes, you do. Okay. Right. So children, that is part 2. And for the final part, it says, write down the equation of a straight line which passes through the origin and does not intersect with this graph. with the red graph. So children, you can draw a nice curve, a nice straight line, right, that goes through the graph like this. So I have chosen the straight line uh, y equals x,
For 6.
the simplest straight line that you can draw, right? Y equals x does not intersect with this. So you can have some other answers as well, right? So as long as
Yes.
they don't intersect with this graph, you will be correct. Okay, children. So you can't make it too steep, children, right? Because if you make it too flat, it might intersect, right? So children, make sure that the graph is somewhere acceptable around y equals x is perfect.